Welcome to Fred
and Amy's Math
Shack.
Shack. Hello and welcome to this video on changing between fractions, decimals and percentages. So, as you can see on the screen here, we have three different representations of the same number, okay? So we've got 31 over 100, which is also said as 31 hundredths. We have the decimal 0.31 and the percentage 31%. And that is the symbol there used for percentages. So all of these have exactly the same value, okay? They are just three different representations of the same number. These are three representations of exactly the same number too. But you've got the fraction here of 1 over 4, also called 1/4. And that is exactly the same as the decimal 0.25 and 25%. So with the previous example, you can probably see the resemblance between 31 there, 31 there, and 31 there. But here, we've got a 4 on the bottom here, and we've got 25 here and 25 here. So where has this come from? Where has this come from? Okay, well, that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to be changing between all three of these different representations. Okay, so we're going to be moving back and forth between them. But the important thing to remember is that they are all the same number, but they are just represented, or they look slightly different, but they have the same value. Same here. Again, you can probably see the resemblance here with this number and this number, but where does this fraction come from? That's what we're going to look at today. It's really important that you have a good understanding of the place value table, okay? So if this looks a little bit unusual to you, you might want to watch the video on place value. So this place value table is going to be really important today. Example number 1, write 41 over 100 as a percentage. Okay, well that word percentage literally means out of 100. Okay, percent means out of 100, so percentage. So how do I write this as a percentage? Well, because it is already out of 100, it's already out of 100 there, then the percentage is just the number on the top, but written with a percentage sign like that. Okay, so this fraction as a percentage is just that. Just so you know, for future reference, if we were to write this number in the place value table, as I say, I go through this in the place value video, but this says 41 hundredths, which you can see here in the hundredths column here. If we did 41 hundredths, it would look like this as a decimal, 0.41. Example 2, change 3 over 10, also called 3/10, into a percentage. Okay, so remember, percent means out of 100, but currently this fraction is only out of 10. So how do we make it out of 100? Well, we need to write an equal sign, and we need to make an equivalent fraction over 100. And if you're a bit rusty on equivalent fractions, you can watch the video on equivalent fractions. So you're saying how many times does 10 go into 100? Or in other words, what is 100 divided by 10? Well, the answer to that is 10. You've got to multiply 10 by 10 to get 100. And whatever you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. And 3 multiplied by 10 is 30. Okay, so now we've got a number that is out of 100 there, and we can therefore just take this top number to be our percentage. So it is 30%. And just for your information as well, if we were to put this into the place value table, 3/10, well, there's our tenths column, and if we've got 3 of them, they put 3 there, and the decimal equivalent would be 0.3. Example 3, change 43 over 50 into a percentage. Okay, so again, percent means out of 100, but currently I do not have a fraction out of 100, I have a fraction out of 50. So how do I make this out of 100? Well, you're going to create an equivalent fraction. And how do you do that? Well, you look at this number on the bottom and you say, well, what have I multiplied that by to get 100? Because the reason why I put this out of 100 is because percentage means out of 100. So 50 has been multiplied by 2 to get 100. So therefore, I must do the same to the top. I must also multiply that by 2. And that gives me 86. So now that I have a fraction out of 100, I can just take this top number and write it as my percentage. So this is 86%. So if you got, for example, 43 out of 50 on a test, that would be 86%. Example 4, write 13 over 20, change 13 over 20 into a percentage. So again, I need to write this as a fraction out of 100 because that's what percent means. Out of 100. What do I multiply 20 by to get 100? 5. So I do the same to the top. I multiply the same number to the top. And 13 multiplied by 5 is 65. So now that I've got my fraction out of 100, I can just write the number on the top as my percentage. 65%. So if you got 13 out of 20 on a spelling test, for example, that would be 65%. Example 5, change 9/25 into a percentage. So 9 over 25, if I am trying to get into a percentage, I need to get a fraction out of 100. How many 25s in 100? There are 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. And 9 4s are 36. And I can just now take my number on the top, and that is 36%. Okay, example 6 now, 23/50 into a decimal, okay? And that's where this place value table up here is going to come in now. But the same procedure applies, okay? Even doing it into a decimal, I still recommend that you write a fraction out of 100, okay? This is generally a really good starting point, is to get a fraction out of 100, okay? So what is an equivalent fraction out of 100 to 23/50? Well, that's been multiplied by 2. This has got to be multiplied by 2, therefore, which gives you 46. So 46 hundredths, okay? 46 hundredths. Well, that's hundredths. This column is hundredths. So if I write that as 46 hundredths, it's a bit of a strange one, but you've got to put the 4 there. 46 hundredths, okay? So it's 0.46. So your answer is 0.46, okay? Some students might think, let me just show you what one error sometimes is that if you write the 46 in there, okay, but you can't have 2 digits in one column, okay, you can only have 1 digit in each column, and it's 46 hundredths like this, okay, 4 tenths and 6 hundredths makes 46 hundredths, 0.46, so that is your answer there. Example 7, 2/25 into a decimal. So again, a really, really good starting point is to write an equivalent fraction over 100. So let's do that. 2/25. How many 25s in 100? There are 4. And I do the same to the top, multiplied by 4. 2 4s are 8. Okay, so I'm writing it as a decimal. I've got 8 hundredths here. Okay, so 8 hundredths. So I'm going to look at my hundredths column up here. But I've only got a single digit now, so I am just going to put the 8 in there. Okay, that is 8 hundredths. But to make it a proper number, we've got to put in some place value holders here. So my decimal is 0.08. Okay, it's really important that you put 0.08. Make sure you remember that place value holder there. Okay, example number 8 says change 72% into a fraction in its lowest terms. So let's just think about what 72% means. First, it means 72 out of 100. And in its lowest terms, that means simplifying. Okay, so if you need a little bit of a reminder about what simplifying fractions involves, then watch the video on simplifying fractions. So you're trying to simplify this as far as you possibly can. I'm not expecting you to be able to do it in one step. It may take a couple of steps, and that's fine. So let's see what we get if we simplify this. I can see that 100 is an even number because it ends in 0, and 72 is an even number because it ends in 2. So probably the easiest starting point is to divide both top and bottom by 2. And we get 50 on the bottom and 36 on the top. Okay, and again, let's just divide by 2 because I can see again they are both even numbers. So let's divide top and bottom by 2. We get 18 over 25. And that's as far as we can go because there are no common factors between 18 and 25. So that is as far as it goes. That is your final answer, 18 over 25 as a 72% in its lowest terms. So, just as a little reminder, if you wanted to go straight from there all the way to there, you would divide by 4. Because obviously here you can see we have divided by 2 and then divided by 2 again, which is the same as dividing by 4. Example 9, change 0.45 into a fraction in its lowest terms. So 0.45, well, what is that? 0.45 is there in the place value table, which means it is 45 hundredths. Okay, and if I want to do it into its lowest terms, that means I divide top and bottom by the same thing. To simplify that fraction. So we've got a number ending in a 0 and a number ending in a 5. That means I can divide top and bottom by 5. Divide top and bottom by 5. And if I divide 45 by 5, I get 9. If I divide 100 by 5, I get 20. 9/20ths, and that's as far as it can go because 9 and 20 don't have any common factors apart from 1, but that won't simplify any further. So 9/20ths is your answer there. Example 10, change 0.08 into a fraction in its lowest terms. Well, let's just have a look at where that is. It is here in the place value table, 8 hundredths, which is that. So it's 8 hundredths. What can I divide top and bottom by? Let's just go for 2 because they're both even numbers. Divide that by 2, I get 4/50ths. I can see I can do it again. I can divide top and bottom by 2. So I get 2/25ths. 2/25ths is 0.08 as a fraction in its lowest terms. That is your final answer. Okay, so hopefully now you can see where I've got that quarter from that I showed you to begin with. So 25% is 0.25 as a decimal, 25 out of 100, which simplifies to a quarter. Okay, so that is where we got a quarter from to begin with. Okay, that simplifies to give that. Again, these are all just different representations of the same number, they have the same value. And similarly with this one, hopefully you can see now where I got the 3/5 from, because 60% is 60 out of 100, and 60 out of 100 simplifies to give 3/5. Okay, here are some questions for you to have a go at yourself. So pause the video now, have a go at changing between these different representations, follow the instruction at the start of each question, and then resume the video to see the answers. And here are the answers.